Hello, my name is Joel Williams and welcome to Props Scale Model Aircraft Building Club. This tutorial is intended to introduce the art, the hobby of scale model aircraft building to people who may have learned it when they were kids and kind of went away from it, or grandparents who are looking to bond with their children, their grandchildren. I can tell you from personal experience that the hobby of scale model aircraft building is very satisfying. Once you're through, you have a tangible representation of your artistic ability, and it's just it's a trophy. It really is a trophy and a testament to patience, attention to detail, a certain type of artistic flair and individuality, depending, and it's historic. You can wind up with an exact replica of something that actually occurred and existed on this planet at some unique period of time. So before you is a Tamiya A3 mat, and I chose this mat because it's a good cutting mat. It has a very good resistance to sharp blades. The layout of this workbench, and I want you to get used to calling it your workbench, is intended to show you the tools that you absolutely must have if you're going to make any kind of viable attempt at replicating a scale aircraft model. Now, I'm going to go through each of these items individually, but I want you to kind of get a sense that I'm moving right to left in order of what I consider to be the most important. So if you're on limited funds, please start over here and work your way to the left as your finances dictate. Now, the first thing that I think every scale model builder should invest in is an X-Acto knife. This is indispensable. You are going to use this so often, so frequently, in fact, that you're probably going to forget that this should be the very first thing in your box, on your workbench. Second, you should have a good pair of tweezers. You can buy these things in a set online from Harbor Freight Tools or other hardware places, but these things are just indispensable. You're going to be working with a lot of small parts. You're going to be gluing. You're going to be needing to hold things. And when you get to setting the decal phase, you're going to be using this a lot to dip your decals in lukewarm water and apply them to the aircraft model as required. So they're very, very important. Paper towel. I folded it here because I'm limited to this space of 420 centimeters. But what I want to just show you in just a brief overview is that paper towel can be replaced with a rag, can be replaced with newspaper in a pinch. These are just ideas for you to kind of pattern what your workbench should look like. Next, we're moving on to the Sprue Cutter, a dedicated Sprue Cutter, $4.95 at a hardware place online. You can get them on Amazon. Indispensable for cutting close to sprues, or you could even trim your nails with them if you want. But they make a flush cut, they leave very little residue, and they're spring loaded so that they always remain open until there's pressure applied to them. Indispensable. Tape. I can't stress enough how frequently I use tape. You're going to need tape to make straight lines when you're painting. You're going to need tape to even hold models together when the glue is still setting. Tamiya is a model company that makes very good model accessories, and this is their 6mm tape dispenser. You can get the replacement, I think this one costs about $7. The replacement tape in there costs about $4. You're gonna have to get it. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to break down and get it. And the tape is of such a property that it is intended to stick but not adhere too firmly where it rips off decals and other things. So it adheres tightly enough around the edges that when you do paint, your paint doesn't seep over. This is an excellent way to get a very straight line. For example, if you're painting a straight line. Clothespins. There's going to come times when you're going to need to put two wings together, for example, or in some other form of adhesion. You're going to need to have something holding it together. Glue. Let's go over to glue. I like the tester. I'm a testers guy. In case you haven't noticed, a lot of my products are testers. I find testers to be mid-grade, but they're reliable. If you know what it's kind of like the old shotgun. It's not the most modern idea, but you know what? It's been time tested and proven enough that it's still viable today. Very cheap. I think you can get this glue. They come in two forms: a toxic and non-toxic one. I recommend if you have small grandchildren or young kids, probably go with the non-toxic variety, which has less fume. I particularly like this one because I think it sets a little quicker than the non-toxic variety, but they both set up a very good bond with the polystyrene that you will be using in your kits. I really like the design of the bottle because it's all, as you see, it encourages gravity flow so that your applicator doesn't get jammed with glue drying after a while. And every time I pick it up, it's ready to go. It has a very narrow aperture, so you're able to put it in very precise locations. I really like that. So testers, it makes a very good glue. Eventually you're going to step up to the Tamiya Glue. This is a brush applicated glue, kind of like nail polish if you can imagine. And you're going to brush that onto your parts that you want it to adhere. This is the extra thin, so that means it dries very quickly. Very, very strong bond once it gets set, but you might not want to put together your heavier items with this. Eventually, you're going to come to putting together a canopy, or if you work on car models, you're probably going to put some headlights together, and you're going to need some clear part cement. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, that's just nothing more than Elmer's glue. That could be correct. I'm not certain, but I do know one thing. This thing has a very, very good applicator, and Elmer's glue is not a very good applicator. And as I said before, it has that tester's design, which encourages the flow of the excess that is left in the tube back into the container, so you're not going to get a jam. Very good design. Eventually, you're going to have a need for some crazy glue. Crazy glue, I don't know why I spent the extra money and got this is a Tester's Model Master variety. You don't need this. Any crazy glue, any cyanoacrylic adhesive will work, but I like it because it adheres so quickly. You can put joints together and they'll dry within seconds, and a lot of times if you have to hold the model together, or you're worried about a part moving around, if you have a quick acting glue like the super glue, it makes the job easier. Moving on, you're going to eventually need some putty. Testers makes a really good contour putty. This is almost like a paste, like a toothpaste if you will, and what you're going to do is you're going to put that into the creases and crevices of your aircraft model and then let it dry, and then you're going to sand it down. Moving on to sanding, I don't recommend going out and buying the proprietary sandpaper that Tamiya and other model builders sell. And a regular emery board for nail files will work sufficiently for your needs. There's a rough side and then even a finer grit side. These things can be found in the packages. I think I paid $1 for about 50 of those, very cheap. Q-tip, can't stress enough. You're eventually going to come to a time where you're going to start putting on decals. Q-tips are indispensable in soaking up excess decal setting solution, and that brings me to the setting solution. Microsol makes an excellent two-step process product. You're going to use the Microsol for, I'm sorry, the company's name is Microscale, out of California. I think Carlsbad, California. I'm not Fountain Valley, I'm sorry. But they make an excellent product here, and what they have is a two-step solution. Any kind of decal setting solution is basically going to be a vinegar, water, oil kind of mix. So this is basically a vinegar type the micro set that you will apply after the decal has dried somewhat will actually make that decal lay down into the crevices, actually break down the molecular structure of the plastic adhesive and make it almost melt into the creases. So this is a finisher. So this is what you're going to put on first. You're going to apply it with a brush, and that's good because it brings me to the brushes. A lot of times people will go out and spend a lot of money for these artsy art store type brushes. Something similar to this would cost probably about $10 or $15 at your art store. Testers makes this kit of fine to wide brushes. I think I paid $3 for this, and they have synthetic fibers. If you're just starting out and you're just building a very basic model, you don't need much more than this. This is enough to get you through. These are when you get to a little bit more intermediate level and you're a little bit more comfortable about what you're doing. Let's talk about paint. Now, any aircraft model that you build is not finished until you apply paint. And to understand paint, we should understand there's two styles of paint, two basic types of paint. One is oil-based paint, which we call enamel. And then there is a water-based paint, which is called acrylic. The difference between these two is that when you cut it or thin it, this one you're going to use water, this one you're going to use some type of a lacquer thinner. So this is a oil-based paint. I am an old-fashioned kind of guy, and I grew up using enamels. Enamels, to me, you can just see, if I open this, you can just see that they're a thin type of paint, good for airbrushes, good for making very fine, detailed work. They'll get into the cracks and crevices. It's in my opinion, better. The acrylic is very good. This is a tan variety from Testers. It's very easy to clean. That's the main thing about acrylics, is you can just run these under the tap, under the sink, and clean your brushes. It's a very, very cool thing to do that. With the enamel, the cleanup is a little bit more strenuous, a little bit more exacting. And that's good that I mentioned that, because that brings me to the brush cleaner. Sooner or later, you're going to need a brush cleaner. And a brush cleaner is nothing more than what we knew back when I was a kid as saddle soap. This is something that's going to condition the bristles on your brushes and encourage the release of, it's a detergent, so it's going to kind of clean your brushes, and at the same time it's going to condition it so the next time you pick it up and go to use it, it's not stiff as a board. So with those items, I think you should be able to get started. Welcome to Props, our series, and we're going to move on to a little bit more intermediate stuff in our next conversation. Thank you. I'm Joel Z. Williams, and I am the Prop Master.